education, and real-world knowledge about the voiceover industry. It's the Voiceover Gurus Podcast.
I'm good, hopefully. Welcome back to the Voiceover Gurus Podcast. I'm your host, Linda Bruno, dealing with some technical issues, but this is voiceover, people, right? This is what we do, especially in live situations when it's truly embarrassing and you have somebody, a guest on Zoom with you. But please welcome Serge De Marre. Hello.
Hi, Linda. How are you today?
I am so good, except for the technical issues. And I appreciate you, bearing with me.
Of course. I mean, I totally understand. I have technical issues once in a while too, because that's what we have to deal with that. What happens.
But then you just gave me a good idea that you just unscrewed a piece of the Sennheiser.
Well, so I bought a Sennheiser. I have two actually. And a while ago I had some issues with it that every time, every 10 minutes it popped like a loud click.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely see it in a wave. And I was trying to figure out what it was. I thought my mic is gone bad or whatever.
Yeah.
I found this video on YouTube, and I'll send it to you if I can still find it somewhere, where this guy explains that you have to take it apart, like you have to take the back off or something. There's one screw in there, and then inside you tighten a screw, and then the popping stops. I think it's the screw inside that comes loose or something, and that makes that popping sound or clicking sound. So I don't know. Maybe that's the issue.
I'm hoping that's the solution. I know this comes and goes, but we're good now. We're gonna just
Yes, fingers crossed.
So you're originally from Belgium.
Yes.
What part of Belgium?
The northern part, the Dutch part. So not a lot of people know that Belgium is a very small country.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've only been to Brussels, so
11 or 12 million inhabitants. And then it's divided in three. You have a Dutch speaking part, a French speaking part, and then a German speaking part of Belgium as well. The German speaking part is very, very tiny, but the majority of people, of those 12 million, I think about 6 million or 7 million people speak Dutch, Flemish.
Okay.
It's actually Flemish is a Dutch dialect. So we speak the same language as the Dutch, but it's a different accent. Basically like British and American English. The British have a different accent, but you can still understand each other, right? So it's the same thing. We have some different words and some different expressions.
So you started out your career in Belgium?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So
and how long ago was that?
So I started out in radio in the year 2000 at a very small level, at a very small local station. And local means really local. It's nothing compared to local in the United States. I think we had 10,000 listeners or something. And that was already a big local station,
Uh-huh.
It was very tiny. And I ended up there because I was, back in the day when the internet was very slow, we had IRC chat rooms. Those were just chat rooms. And I was chatting on those in I can't remember in what chat room it was, but I met up with someone accidentally that I went to school with back in the day, and we were catching up, and he was like, well, I have a radio show on this local station. Do you want to come over and see what I do during the show? And I was like, sure, I have nothing else to do. This is the 2000s. We don't have iPhones yet, and no social media.
Right.
So I went over and listened to his show, and I was there, and we chatted. And after his show was done, he took the studio off air, and he was like, you know what? Why don't you try out something behind the mic? And we played along. We played a little bit, and he recorded this on a MIDI disc. I'm not sure if you remember those.
Yes, I do.
And that mini disc ended up on the station manager's desk somehow.
Wow.
He gave it to the station manager. And a couple of weeks later, I got a call from the station manager, and he was like, hey, I listened to your demo, and we have a slot opening up on Sundays I think it was from 4 till 8 or something, 4 hours. Are you interested? And I was like, and he said, it doesn't pay anything. We can pay you I think it was $75 a month. I could just pay my gas with that. But I was so excited. I was, wow, I want to do this. And I was super bad. But anyway, that's how I started. And then I worked my way up to national radio, which has a little bit more listeners in Belgium. about a million a day, I think. That's a lot more.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Got my own show and everything. And then I worked there from 2004 till 2015.
Okay.
And
A
I had
good
my
stretch there.
and everything. Sorry?
A good stretch.
Yeah, that was a good stretch. Yeah, absolutely. And then we moved to my husband and I moved to the United States in 2010.
Okay. You
And
moved to where in the US? Where'd you live?
well, originally, this was for my husband's work, and his work told him, we need you in Washington, D.C. for 2 years, and then you'll return to Belgium. So in the beginning, we were sort of like trying to figure out how we would do this for 2 years, long distance or not. And
Yeah.
I kept working for the Belgian radio station until 2015. And after that, I was like, yeah, well, we're never going back. So I need to stop working for the radio station and do something different. But meanwhile, I also wanted to dig into voiceover, and I slowly started with that. Home studios were not a huge thing back then. So it was pretty difficult to get started in voiceover.
Yeah. You mentioned to me earlier that the country of Belgium, you have the 3 different speaking areas. So I'm assuming that you are fluent in French and German and yes.
Oui, bien sûr. No, no, my French, I used to be fluent when I graduated, and I had a job very briefly in customer service, and I took calls in French and Dutch. But then I started working for the radio station, which was in Dutch only. So I sort of like forgot French. I mean, drop me in Paris for 2 weeks and I probably can still
come back.
Yeah, it'll come back, I think.
Yeah. So the majority of the work that you did at the time was with the Flemish accent?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, for the Belgian market. Yeah. Yeah.
So now you don't do anything. You don't venture into any of the other languages, do you?
No. So right now I focus on Flemish and English, global English, because you can hear there's a little bit of an accent.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. That's like the golden ticket there. If you can do that.
Yeah.
Not sound too American, sound worldly, sound like you can appeal to a very large market.
Yeah.
But yeah, that always fascinates me. So you think that's the majority of where your work is with that type of accent?
Yeah, it's about 50-50, 50% in Flemish and 50% in English right now. Most of my clients are still in Europe, but I think like 70% or 65% from my work comes from Europe, and then the rest from the United States. I have a couple of clients in the United States.
Did you guys stay in DC for the 2 years?
We stayed in DC for 2 years from 2010 until 2012, and then moved to Houston.
Okay. This is all because of his work.
All because of his work, yeah.
Because as voice actors, we can be anywhere.
Right. Yeah, that was awesome. That I could just move with him, and there was no issue at all. So we moved to Houston, stayed there until 2018, then moved, and stay with me because this is going to get complicated. We moved for 2 years to Dallas until 2018 to 2020. 2020 to 2022, I lived in Hungary for 2 years. We moved back mid-pandemic to Europe, and I lived in Budapest for 2 years. And then 2022, so 2 years ago, I moved back we moved back to Houston. Yeah.
Wow. I like how you said Budapest.
Budapest. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Budapest.
We say Budapest here.
Budapest, yeah.
Which is kind of crass. Right. I was going to ask you about that because all the moves and everything, and now you're back in Houston. Now, was it a tough transition to come from Europe to the States as far as with work and stuff goes? Did you, and you have the time zone differences too. How do you work with that?
So to be honest, I didn't start right away as a full-time voice actor. I had some voiceover gigs, but I worked as a reporter for a Belgian TV station, as a correspondent, a U.S. correspondent for a Belgian TV station, for the news, basically, in Belgium. For a while, freelanced a little bit. I did all sort of things until this one moment in 2018 that I decided, you know what? I want to do voiceover. I'm going to just focus 100% on voiceover, dropped everything else, and bought myself a Studio Bricks in 2018. And
that looks nice.
Yeah. And I just went for it. So up until 2018, I made some money, or it was just a little bit of voiceover here and there, but it wasn't actually a full-time job. Also because I thought, well, I'm here in the United States, every time someone contacted me for a job, they were like, well, can you come to our studio in Belgium because we want you in our studio. Our client's going to be here. And well, it's not possible. I'm in the United States. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll find someone else then. So it was really, really difficult. Yeah. But I persisted anyway. And then we all know what happened in 2020.
Right.
And I was ready for it, for COVID, for the lockdowns and everything.
So then your clients were more willing to do the remote option.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they needed to, right? Especially in Europe, everything was on lockdown. It was worse than in the United States. So
I understand.
Yeah, we couldn't just, we were not allowed to go into buildings or go to work, or everything was work from home. And I was ready for it because I had a home studio and internet connection was good and everything was set up. So yeah, that was.
The only thing that came out that was good of COVID was the fact that having to travel, because I live on Long Island, right outside of New York City, having to travel into New York City for auditions. I don't have to do that. And that was like half my day. You know, you'd go in and be 2 hours on a train in, go run to the studio, do the audition, get back on a train. And when you have a full-time voiceover business, you have other clients that are like, why aren't you next to your microphone? And so the casting directors, the agents, they were like, no, we want to see you. We need to be in the same room with you. Yeah. So when COVID hit, they were forced to embrace technology. And now they all use Source Connect and all that. And it's great. But
because it's so much more convenient for everyone, right? They don't have to like sit in an office all day. They could just be in their own engineering studio and just hop on Source Connect. And I mean, it's a lot easier that way, I think.
So do you still do live sessions with Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what's your timing on that? Like what part of your day in Houston is used towards, working directly with your European clients?
So the busiest time of day is my mornings are basically, because there's a 7-hour time difference.
Right.
And so 6 o'clock in the morning, my time is 1 p.m. in Europe. Mm. I tell my clients, tell me whenever you need me and I'll be awake and I'll be there. But if I can choose, don't book me before 2 p.m. European time, which is 7 o'clock my morning. So.
Right. Okay. And they've been pretty good about it.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty amazing about it. They're all like, oh yeah, sure. Let's do like 3 o'clock, which is 8 a.m. I'm like, oh, okay. This is, yeah.
Years ago, I'm a big Paris fan. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I want to rent an apartment. And I've been multiple times. I want to rent an apartment and I want to be able to work from there. So for 2 weeks, I had this great apartment in the Saint-Germain-des-Prés, area, arrondissement. And literally, because I was working for Disney Junior at the time and HSN, and I set myself up and I just, we structured the day where basically I worked late, obviously, because the East Coast and the States, but then because everybody ate dinner so late anyway in Paris, it was like beautiful, it'd be done at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night and then go out and
then have
it was great. I mean, I was like, I could get used to this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And your clients didn't care either, or?
They were okay for the 2 weeks, but then that was the same trip that the Icelandic volcano.
Oh, yeah.
So we were stuck there for another week. And everybody's like, oh, you're so lucky. I'm like, no, it was the most stressful week of my life because we didn't know how we were going to get back. Yeah. All the planes were grounded, couldn't get on a train. We couldn't rent a car. And now, the clock's ticking. Now I have to get into a hotel. Now I got to pay for extra food, So
it adds up.
Yeah, we would wind up just spending days. I would get one of those self-guided tours and pick a wing in the Louvre and go and just spend a few hours, which was fantastic. But, it was definitely an experience. When we finally got back, I was really grateful. So, but I knew I had to get back because the clients were only patient for like the 2 weeks. And they were like, okay, it's time. Stop the fun, get back to work.
I think these days it's probably a lot easier, and a lot of clients probably won't care anymore, or they'll adjust. Or no, I think so.
I think so too. Yeah, because back then this was, no one had dealt with the being forced to do remote things.
Right.
At this point in time, because that was 2010 when I went.
But it was a lot tougher back then. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I like your studio. It looks nice. You put in those lights.
Yeah, to make it a little bit more cozy. I feel like I need to, my studio needs to be cozy and inspiring, and I need to calm down here because outside of this booth, there's a lot of stress going on in the whole world. A lot of things are happening, not in the house, obviously, but I mean, in general.
Right.
So whenever I close the door here, I would just want to like be able to breathe. And it makes it a little bit more cozy.
Do you prefer to sit or stand when you voice?
It depends. Usually I stand, especially if I have energetic reads. But for now, I'm going to sit down because I'm not going to stand up for an hour. That's my bad. I mean, I'm old. No, I'm not old, but I'm
not old.
Once in a while.
Look very young. So what do you think you get called for? What do you book the most? What genre do you feel you book the most?
For the Belgian market, I think commercials in general and corporate videos. Mm-hmm. And for my English, a lot of corporate work as well. But I recently booked my first US commercial campaign. So
oh my gosh, sounds amazing! I know I've heard you.
Thank you.
I know. It's like I love the Tubi campaign. I was going to say to you because they're fantastic. The spots are funny too.
They're so funny, and I can't believe there are like 4 or 5 spots, TV, films. And then 3 radio spots. And it was like a major achievement for me because I always, like a couple of years back, I was like, I'm never going to book anything in the United States because trying to get rid of that accent and blah, blah, blah. And, it's so, the US market is so competitive with the auditioning and everything. And then suddenly, so it can happen.
But now, do you find the request for the style of read is different from an American client than a European client? Do they ask for anything specific? Is there a differentiation?
I think in the US clients are looking more for conversational. Right. And in my experience in Belgium, they're not there yet at the conversational level. It's still
more announcery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's always that same little intonation going on in the commercials in Belgium.
Right. Like the rhythms and stuff.
The rhythms and yeah.
So now when you audition for the American stuff, do you have to shift reduce the accent? How do you work that?
Well, so in the beginning, I was focused on getting rid of the accent because I thought, well, I'm never going to book anything with an accent, so I need to get rid of that. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple of accent reduction sessions with a coach.
Okay.
I tried that for a while and I was struggling with it because it's really difficult to nail it, right? Also because in school back in the day, we were taught UK British English. And then I moved to the so I've always spoke British English. And then I moved to the United States where suddenly there's this American accent. And now I have a combination of both.
You have to do.
It's so tough for me to get rid of that. So in the end, I figured out, well, this is actually an asset for me, like the accent. I should try to get rid of it because clients especially in Europe, were looking for it. They don't want 100% American voices or UK voices unless they're in the UK, obviously. But for example, in the Netherlands or Germany or Belgium, they want something different, non-UK, non-US, but still fluent and still a little bit of an accent. It has to be very recognizable for them. So I get a ton of work for those, those countries, yeah.
So when you auditioned for the Tubi campaign, what? Because I didn't hear a strong accent in this one spot that I watched on your website. Mm-hmm. Did they request something in the audition? They did.
Yeah, they did. They were specifically looking for a European accent. Actually, the whole audition was specifically written for me. I was like, yeah, this is me. They were looking for me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So when I did the audition, I was like almost certain that I'm going to get this because they were looking for European accent, a certain timbre and whatever. So I auditioned for it and I booked it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Do you get stuff mostly? Do you have agents?
I do. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have agents overseas and here in the States?
I do. Yeah. The interesting thing is that the voiceover market in Europe, and I'm talking about like Europe without UK, right? UK is a little bit of an exception, I think. Mm-hmm. It's completely different from the United States. You guys have agents here. I do have a couple of agents. and you audition all the time, et cetera, et cetera. But in the European market, you have a demo or a reel, and you get booked off of your reel, basically. So clients are asking for your demos, and then they'll go through your demo and be like, oh, I like this voice. I like this, what you did there. I like that. I want you to do this, but with my script for my commercial or my corporate video.
Interesting.
So and once in a while, they'll ask for a sample, but then you only compete with 2 other people because they only want to listen to 3 samples. So your chances are pretty high that you're going to book it.
Do you think it's worth it for an American to market to the overseas clients?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Because you probably know the website Bodalgo.
Yeah.
I'm such a nice person. And, a lot of students will tell me, they'll go, oh, it's mostly European jobs, and I never get, any kind of bookings or anything. And I personally don't know. I did get a booking off something, and I didn't audition. Again, they listened to my reel on Bodalgo and just said, yeah, we want you to do this. But I was just curious if it was worth the effort for us.
I definitely think so. I think my vision is that you have to be everywhere. I mean, I have a profile on Bodalgo as well, and I don't book that often off of Bodalgo, but I do book there once in a while. That said, I think you have to market to studios, like recording studios or post-production studios, basically, because they usually decide in Europe, who's going to be who they are going to present to their clients. It's less of a casting director that is looking for voices. It's mostly those post-production studios that are going to, if you have a good relationship with those people at the post-production studios, then they'll think of you as soon as they get a project that will match your voice. They'll be like, oh, Linda is amazing for this. She has the perfect voice for this. So we'll propose her to our clients with maybe 2 other voices, or maybe 5 in total or something. So yeah, I definitely think
it's worth it.
It's definitely worth it, especially if you make it very easy for your client overseas to pay you and the transaction and everything. If you make that really easy, and I also think, and that's my personal opinion, but don't go through your agent or manager because that'll scare a lot of Europeans off. They'll be like, oh no, that's going to be very expensive or very difficult to communicate. And yeah.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I know that, well, for me, it's been a long time I've been doing this, and I did that same, philosophy that you have, is trying to get my demo out to as many places as possible, and as, linked at the time to as many websites. And I would reach out to some overseas, probably 15 years ago, and they still contact me now for jobs. Yeah. And it's so nice because they're just I do a lot of e-learning projects for Europe. There's one company out of Germany that uses me, but it's a lot of acting pieces, which is interesting and fun to do. Absolutely. But yeah, they keep you on the roster if they like working with you. And that's the best part.
Do you audition for them, or they usually come to you and be like, hey, we have a project for you. Can you do this? And
he'll come to me and just say, sometimes he'll say, can you just read this section? He goes, I'm sure they're going to pick you, but can you just read this section? And here's the rate, and this is the amount. And are you interested? And, but it's not a regular thing. It's just every so often, I hear from the client, and it's nice because you realize, well, no matter where you are in the world, if you just do that initial planting of the seed, wherever you possibly can.
Absolutely.
And then just hope that it's going to grow into something for you.
It will, if you persist, it will grow into something. Yeah. That's how I did it as well, because I had a big network back in the day when I was working for the radio station, and I traveled around all around the country in Belgium, and then to the Netherlands as well, to studios and everything. And that's how you network with people. And they still remember me from so many years ago, like going into their studio, and I still get emails or calls like, hey, back in the day, remember? And I have a project for you, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's just all those relationships are so, so important, I think.
So when you were working in Belgium, did you also have to do live events?
I have not done many of them, no.
Like here in the States, we have to do them if we wind up working in grocery or for a station.
Oh, you mean live events, like doing a show at...
Yeah, or showing up at a grocery store and doing a giveaway or something. Did you ever have to do anything like that? Or is that American?
No, I've never done that. So what we did have at the radio station every summer, Europeans have a lot of vacation, right? So a lot of the of the hosts
So
went
jealous.
on vacation during the summer months, July and August. And that's me as a freelancer. That's when I had the most work because I was like filling in for them.
Yeah.
And we had this, it was called the radio station was called Q Music. And we had the Q Beach House, and this was a beach house specifically built for the radio station, or we built it ourselves at the beach, like on the beach itself, in the middle of the sand, and all the listeners could come over and just visit us and everything. So we did our shows from there.
There. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that sounds a lot better than what we have over here. I'm
Right.
telling you, ours is like showing up with a mascot. Mine was Lucky the Duck at a grocery store, spinning a wheel of prizes.
Live on the radio.
Yeah, it's more like it depends. I would do some events
Yeah.
live, and then a lot of them though were just like call-ins.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
going on over there, and then you would tell them about I don't know whatever specials are. But yeah, I was just curious how it worked for your work history of
yeah.
if you had any of those embarrassing events either that you can share with us.
Right. No, I've never had to be like a mascot or something, or a duck.
What kind of mascot could you be? Could you be? I know what waffles are very good over there.
Right. Yeah.
French
That's
fries.
that's very stereotypical though, like
Yeah.
waffles, French fries, and beer. The Belgians just, I mean, it's part of Belgium, right? So we don't think about
Right.
all the waffles and the fries.
Right.
Yes, we're very proud of our fries, and we
Yeah.
hate when people say French fries instead of Belgian fries because they're Belgian, not French.
Right. I visited Amsterdam years and years ago, which I absolutely loved. And for us in the States, the whole thing is like, oh, you got to see the red light district, and oh, you got to smoke marijuana. It's like this. And so, it's not our thing. And I like to go to local bars and meet people. And so we wound up just hanging out with some of the nicest people, the locals. And I would ask them about it, and they would look at me like I was nuts. They were like, no, if we all did that, we wouldn't have jobs. We wouldn't be,
Right.
productive citizens. So it's just kind of funny, the perception,
Yeah,
that people have.
absolutely. Yeah, it's really funny.
I know. And now everybody's getting a real close look at Paris during the Olympics.
Hmm. Are
And
you following the Olympics? Are you?
yeah, I haven't been following. I've only been following the aspects of seeing the city since I love it so much. But my husband will have it on and go, "Hey, come here! They're showing another part," And I like to see the beach volleyballs right in front of the Eiffel Tower, which I think is so cool.
When was the last time you were in Paris?
2010 for that when I was stuck for those 3 weeks. I know. You can never say stuck in Paris. You can't. It doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
Never stuck in Paris. I was stuck eating croissants and wonderful food and drinking wine. And yeah, so I'm itching to go back. I got married. My husband's not a huge traveler, but now that he is seeing Paris through the Olympics, he's like, I want to go.
Yeah.
We? Seriously? But then again, let's see if the urge continues after the Olympics are over.
Yeah, maybe you should do like a trip through Europe or something because I mean Paris is amazing, but there are so many amazing places.
Yeah, I got to start him baby steps.
Yeah, okay. Just
I
maybe
thought,
a city trip to Paris
yes,
for a couple of
yes.
days.
Because I said, do you want to maybe throw in London? We'll do London for a few days, the common London-Paris combination. He's
Right.
like, I want to go to Paris. I'm like, okay. And then we'll go from there. Because I don't know if I'm ever going to get him to Italy or but anyway, it's kind of
I can
promised.
highly recommend. I can highly
Yeah.
Italy and Croatia and Slovenia, all beautiful countries, but France, obviously, of course, too. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to hit Greece at some point too. I have not.
I have never been to Greece.
Really?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. I would not imagine that'd be an easy trip. Well, at the time when you were living over there. Now it's
Yeah.
not much.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so it's interesting because even when I was living in Belgium, so Paris by high speed train, I think is only like a 2 hour trip or something, right? Which is nothing. The drive is 4 hours or even 4.5. So a 2 hour train trip you could do that in a day, right?
Yeah.
But still back in the day, I was thinking, oh, you got to be on a train for 2 hours. Phew, that's way too long. And now I live in Texas and the closest city is like 3 hours away. So 3 hours is nothing. It's nothing. So yeah, but my European friends and family, they don't understand. They're like, What do you mean 4 hours away?
Big deal. My aunt lives in London. She's been there. She's in her 80s, so she's been there since she's like 20. So she's definitely she's British all the way. So she's like a good stop for us if we want to go. We stay with her for a few days and then head out. But that woman travels to the most fabulous places because it's just so much. There's no difficulty because the transportation is so fluid.
It is.
The trains are on time, which is like unheard of here. You know, I get so jealous because, oh, I'm off to Spain. Okay. I'm off to, she's got all these places that she's heading off to. So, but people don't realize the proximity of the countries, you know, and how big United States.
You can fly anywhere within a couple of hours, like 2 or 3 hours, and you're out of London, and you're like anywhere. You can be anywhere. You can be in Greece in, I think, 3 hours or so.
Oh, that's so cool. That's my dream. So how are you liking Houston?
So I've lived here for a while, right? From 2012 till 2016, and now, so that's like 20 years, 6 years, no, 2018, so 6 years, 8 years now.
Right.
It has changed a lot. It's not bad.
Okay.
It was sort of like a shock moving from DC to Houston.
Right.
Because we were like, yeah, I mean, Texas is such a bad rep.
Yeah.
And DC is such an amazing city. I'm not sure if you've ever been, but it's for Europeans to transition into the United States. I think it's the best city ever to move from Europe to DC because it's walkable. It's big,
there's culture. There's things. So many museums.
I loved it. Lots of restaurants, lots of culture. The White House obviously is so impressive to all those Europeans. So we were living there, and then Houston. Oh my God, Texas. That
is a big change.
Yeah. But then we arrived here and it actually wasn't that bad. Maybe our expectations were so low that so when we got here, we were like, oh, this is not too bad. So yeah, we kind of like it. You
said you're in Dallas as well.
Yeah, for 2 years.
How is that? What's the difference for you? Is there preference over one city or the other? We're not like throwing shade at any of the Texas cities. I love all the Texas cities. I'm from Texas. But I'm just curious.
You are from Houston or?
No, San Antonio.
San Antonio, okay.
So spent my summers in Corpus Christi and as a child lived in Houston. You know the Woodlands in Houston?
Yeah, that's close.
I was there when it first was built.
Oh, okay.
That's when that's how old I am. But it was just nothing but like a layout. And my father was always like, oh, we got to go to this community because they have, all these high-tech things at the time.
Right.
But now my understanding is the Woodlands is massive.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's insane.
Community or something, right?
Sorry?
It's like its own community, right? They have their own stores and...
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, they have a market square and everything and tons of restaurants and malls and whatever. So that's, and hotels. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if Houstonians are listening, I will insult them if I say this as a European, but I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's a huge difference between Houston and Dallas. They're both very ugly cities, lots of concrete, super, super ugly. They're both very flat. There's nothing to see, no hills, whatever. It's super, super hot during the summer. It's insane. But that said, so my preference over like Houston or Dallas has nicer neighborhoods, I think. Some of the neighborhoods like Bishop Arts or Deep Ellum are interesting and fun.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that here in Houston. Everything is so scattered and you have to drive everywhere, which I sort of like too because I like driving, but still. So when people ask me which city do you prefer? I don't really. Our friends are in Houston, so that's why I prefer Houston. But other than that, yeah.
So you'd move back to DC if you could?
Well, I guess DC has changed a lot too in those 12 years that it's been 12 years ago since I last lived there. So, and I haven't been back since then. So, but I think so. Yeah, DC fun.
There is a big difference for sure. I always say that you got to bring your passport when you go to Texas.
Right.
Doesn't matter. There's in different parts of Texas, there's different cultures and I miss the Mexican food, honestly, because we can't get that up here in New York.
That is very true. The Tex-Mex is amazing. It's and that's something that I also prefer about Houston over Dallas is that the diversity in people and food is huge here. Mm-hmm. There's so many options for food, and the food is amazing.
So I want to tell you something funny. So I'm an only child,
Hmm.
and my mom got a great job in San Antonio, and she met my stepfather. Okay, so she divorced my biological father when I was 2. So she married him when I was 6, and we moved around a ton. So then we went to Colorado, and we went to Nashville, and so I'm like one of those kids. But he wasn't in the army; he was just a really good corporate guy. So a lot of movement and no connection really with family. I thought I just had my grandparents, and no connection with my biological father's side because things ended poorly. He was an alcoholic, basically. So my mom didn't want me raised with that. So he reaches out to me on Facebook. This was like maybe 15 years ago. And Linda Margot's my middle name. Oh my goodness. So they I turns out I've got like 50 first cousins in Texas.
Oh, wow.
So going from only child
Okay.
to like apparently there's like probably a little tiny town filled with all my relatives. But the cool part is it shows you biology because I love to sing, actor, obviously do voiceovers, do radio. All of my relatives are all musicians, own I know, which is crazy, right? It's like, so you can take someone out of an environment,
Right.
what is inherent and where your talents lie
Uh-huh.
are still there, which is just fascinating. They were like, we're not surprised at all that you do voiceover because Joe has his own music show and da, 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 da,
That's
I know it was crazy.
that is so, yeah, and I think that's a good example of why we're all so unique, even as voice actors, right? We bring something different to the table every time. I mean, and that's why I also think that, I mean, obviously AI is a huge thing right now,
Right.
but I don't think we're gonna get replaced because we all have our unique stories that AI doesn't have. An AI voice doesn't have a unique story.
No,
So yeah,
we crave human
that's
connection.
that's amazing, and I love that your family is like
They're
very,
massive.
yeah, it's crazy.
They're like, you've got to come down to Texas and meet everybody. I'm like, I think I'm going to be completely overwhelmed. I wouldn't even know what to do with it. I'm so
50,
used to
that's
just,
a lot of
yeah,
people.
yeah. So I'll say 50 cousins. I won't say 50 first cousins, but apparently there's a lot of people there. Yeah, just it's just fascinating to me because you can live your whole life one way and then all of a sudden, have this opened up to you that it's just incredible that the love and the passion for performance and using your voice, it's got to be there to
Yep.
stick it out all the years that we have.
Hmm.
You gotta love it. If you can't fake it, you can't pretend. And then back to the AI thing, people want human connection. And so some things, yeah, will be replaced, but otherwise, people are going to want to hear an actual human being with feeling.
Hmm.
How do you make that happen with
Right.
AI? So that's where I stand with it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah. And I might be wrong, but I think that's gonna be the way it goes. Yeah.
I guess we'll find out, won't we? So I've talked about your website because I really, really like it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love the layout and how you have everything. It's really well done. What platform are you using?
I'm only using Wix,
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
but
Uh,
I didn't design it myself. I mean, at first, my previous website, I did like fumble around with it myself because it was just like, not a professional, not a full-time. I was a professional, but not a full-time voice actor. So and then at one point I was like, I need to like step it up. And
mhm.
so I hired a web designer who was specialized in Wix. And I like it because you can still like adjust things. I can
Yeah,
scripts on there or the text on there or a video or whatever. It's pretty easy to just switch it out.
you can
So
update demos and things like that
yeah,
with the back
super
end.
easy. Or maybe quickly add a page or something and then structure it yourself. Copy like an existing design of my page and then
Mm-hmm.
change the copy on there. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll probably use your website as an example for a few of my students who are trying to figure out
Yeah. No, go
what to
ahead.
do.
I'm honored to. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I really, really like the layout. So I was going to send them over and check it out. And that's why I wanted to find out what platform you were using, show them. And yes, hire a designer, a web guy or gal to do it. So that way it's not so overwhelming because people get so like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to? I was like, no, take it. First, let's take a deep breath. Okay. And then, realize that it's not the end of the world.
Well, we already have to know so many things, right? We need to know how to act, how to do social media, how to do the technical things here. And don't bother with the website unless you're like a web designer yourself, because
right. There's too many other things to think about.
Yeah.
So what's your web address? Share for everyone.
So it's sergedemare.com. And my last name, De Marre, is DEMARRE.com.
Yeah, and then you can see the Tubi ads on your website. Of
course, they're like featured on there, right? I'm so proud of it. So
I know, it's so fun with that. Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with me today.
It was lovely.
I'm glad my microphone didn't crap out again. We got lucky with that, but just thanks for sharing your perspective and experiences with everyone too. I think a lot of folks, listeners, are either thinking about getting in this business, or maybe they're in it, or, and I feel like sharing the reality of what someone goes through to get to the point that they're at is key.
It's so important. Yeah. All our stories are so unique, and you got to just keep going. And I feel like I'm the example of that. Like this little guy from the little country in Belgium. Yeah. Scoring this.
Here you are getting a national
campaign in the US. I'm waiting for my next one, but I'm not sure when it's going to come. But
wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a huge pleasure.
So that wraps up this episode of the Voiceover Gurus podcast. We have some interesting workouts for fall. We're trying to mix it up a little bit with some more customized things. But check out our website, of course, voiceover.guru. Any questions, you can email me at info@voiceover.guru. Everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Voiceover Gurus podcast. Real talk about the voiceover industry. Learn more about us and get coaching at voiceover.guru.